When we made the video about red mercury on our channel, we made a little mistake and we talked about Dracula, Jinn, and vampire bats, and we said they don't exist. But the vampire bat part was wrong because it actually exists. Around the world, bats are known as scary animals, but actually they're not that dangerous, and they are very good for the environment. Bats are famous actors as well, and they're seen in many scary movies. If they're not the main character, they're always the side characters. But is this animal scary? Dangerous? Should we worry? One type of bat is a vampire bat, and we have to be careful when we see them. But only if we live in this part of the world. From Mexico to Uruguay, this is the map of the vampire bats, and they look very similar to any other bat you've seen before. In our video about red mercury, a lot of you commented and said vampire bats are found everywhere and they suck the blood of the cows in our area. But however we researched, we only found them in Latin America and nowhere else. But in South Asia, in this area exactly, there is another vampire bat. But back in the day they thought it was a vampire bat. But after further research, they noticed it does not drink blood. And that is why from then on forward, they started calling the bat a false vampire bat. But let's get back to the environment these guys live in Latin America. At night, these guys leave their cave to go hunting for some blood, mostly domesticated animals that live in different farms, like pigs and cows, because they're the easiest prey. If you live in this area of the world, never sleep outside, because they can even suck the blood of humans. Them sucking the blood is not the bad part. The terrible part is that they could have diseases like rabies. A lot of people of Latin America, especially farmers, complain to the government that they should eradicate vampire bats. To get to know this animal a little better, let's go to Panama, a place where there's plenty of these guys. Do you see Panama, one of the smallest countries in the world? But in this little area, there is 120 different species of bats, and they have a higher population than the people. And of course, the most amount of different types of bats in one country is in Panama. If you go to a Panama airport, there is a high chance a person is going to Panama to study bats. But we have to say, it's not like all the bats in Panama are vampires. It's a very small percentage of them, but just that little amount could cause a lot of danger. Most of the places bats live are in jungle, creating these landscapes. They eat a lot of fruits and they pass the seeds all over the ground, and that causes new trees to grow. They can even pollinate plants like bees. So you can't say that they are useless. One of the most important things it does is that it eats a lot of insects, especially mosquitoes. If they're very advanced, they could even kill flies. They attack most types of insects, but big bats could even attack different birds. These were the good bats that did a lot of good things for the environment. But let's go talk about the vampire bats. Not only are these the worst bats in the family, but they're very smart and strategic. And when they sense blood, they don't just attack, they go forward with strategy. Because usually they want to drink blood from an animal that could easily hurt them, and they want to sneak up to the food without the prey noticing. Vampire bats have a very sensitive noise, and before they cut into this skin, they can sense a vein under there or not, because they're not gonna work this hard to not puncture the vein, because they want all the blood they can get. The vampire bats has one of the sharpest teeth as well, and when they puncture skin, it's kind of like inserting a needle on there, and if you're not looking, you really won't notice it. Unlike other bats, vampire bats have nothing good going for them, and they don't help the environment whatsoever. To get to know the vampire bat a little bit better, we have to learn some history. Vampire bats lived in this part of Latin America for thousands of years, and they would drink the blood of different animals, but their population was much lower than it is today, because the animals that was available to them that they could drink from were very small and not plentiful. Then we get to 1493 when the Europeans come to America, and with them they bring different types of animals from Europe, and the most important ones are cows, chickens, and horses. These animals were a new food source that was very easy and plentiful for the vampire bats. That is why their population pretty much exploded, and it's around this time that these guys are a problem for animals and humans in that area. Hundreds of years has passed, but the population of vampire bats has stayed up, and they really can't control it. If you go to Latin America and you see a field of cows, horses, and different animals, just know that vampire bats are camping around that site and they're waiting for nightfall. These guys are exactly like Dracula. Dracula came out at night, but obviously it's a fake story, not a real animal like this guy. Vampire bats hate the light. If you enter a cave and know that these guys are vampire bat, you have control with the flashlight in your hand, because when they see the light, they will most likely fly away. The way the vampire bats start drinking blood is that it punctures it, finishes the job and leaves, but the biggest problems is the diseases that comes with it, especially rabies. Latin American farmers lose about $30 million because of vampire bats, because their cows get infected with rabies, or their horses. Humans are not safe either. Tens of people a year die in Latin America because of rabies, and the rabies is caused by vampire bats. When you speak with Latin American farmers, they hate the vampire bat. But on the other side, they love every other bats because they help their farms grow. And without them, their lives would be a little bit more difficult. If you want to poison them, they would die. But you will most likely kill a lot of good bats. And that makes it not worth it. So is there any good things about the vampire bat? Scientists say the only good thing that comes out of the vampire bat is its spit. Its saliva has a special ingredient that lets the blood flow rather than stop when you make a cut. And this is a great thing for drug companies. When it bites the animal, its spit hits it and it lets the blood flow rather than stop. Either way, no good idea has come out to a way where we can eradicate these animals without damaging the environment. But scientists say we can control these animals so they don't carry the rabies disease. If they want to drink blood, that's fine, but don't infect animals and humans with it. Another thing we have to say that vampire bats don't attack people because it uses strategy, and its plan is to drink blood in a way where the prey doesn't understand it. And that is why when researchers go into the cave, they're not scared of the vampire bat and they know they're safe. We have to know that vampire bats are nowhere else but Latin America, and all the bats in other areas do good things for the environment.